Hello, creative friends. This is Gina, and welcome to stellarjstudios, formerly known as the Rebookery channel. Today, I am so glad you have joined me because I'm going to take you on a journey that I didn't even know was going to be a journey. I sat down today and decided I was going to do some play in my sketchbook, and I was going to use paints and possibly some collage. So as I did this process, what I found was my play turned into a story, and the story actually went back to a memory. So I'm going to take you through this journey. We'll do the first part this week, and then I'll finish up with another video next week to show you how it ended. Now, the only plan I had for this session right here, for this video or for this actual spread that I'm doing, is that I wanted to use that sheer fabric. So that fabric was some cast-offs that somebody was getting rid of, and I took it, washed it, and decided, we'll see what happens, see if I can use it. But it had been stuck in my head because of the sheerness, and I kept thinking, what if I put it down on paper and then used it as a collage element and painted over it? How would that work? So that's what my main goal was for the beginning of this. So I chose a page in my sketchbook that already had something on it. I'm not a fan of just a blank page, so I took that paper that had lots of color swatches. I just put some gesso down, and then I put some watered down paint that I have just in some squirt bottles. And now I'm just adding some marks and then blotting all the excess paint with just a piece of tissue paper, and I'll use the tissue paper later as a collage element or something in another spread or in another journal. So once I have this background down, I thought I would cut down this paper, or I'm sorry, this fabric into some odd shapes. I didn't like just that big rectangle. So putting it on the bottom, almost the bottom layer, because I want to build up on this. Now I'm going to use matte medium. I think that's Liquitex. Yeah, that's Liquitex matte medium. I like using matte medium. It's similar to Mod Podge, but it's not as gooey and not as slick. Now I still use Mod Podge, but I don't know, I just sometimes when I want to do things that have a little bit more quality, I'll use some of my better art supplies. So for this, I'm just laying down a layer of the matte medium. Now, I can pretty much guarantee that this will stick with the matte medium, but if this was a thicker fabric, I would probably need to go to more of a gel medium or a PVA glue if I was doing something that was more cost effective. So I thought about using these beautiful flowers because they're, I don't know, that it's some old wrapping paper. I'm positive it's from the 70s, 60s or 70s. And those colors just get me every time. That bright harvest gold yellow against that green with a hint of orange. It's just, I don't know. I love this wrapping paper, and I love tearing it up and just putting it in different pieces. A lot of it's going to get covered up, but you'll see as I go throughout this process how I can bring it back out. So just going through some collage papers that I found. I did not grab a bunch. I have found that when I have less, I do better. So less is more, definitely. So these are just some papers I grabbed that were sitting in a tub of just, cast off papers. And that one that I just put down was some paper that I had done some eco dyeing. I think that was during the pandemic, and I had gotten into some eco dyeing with flowers and grasses and things like that. And so that's just some paper that I had left over, and thought it would be time to put it in a spread, and it actually works well with the wrapping paper. And then this is just an old magazine picture of a cat, and I don't know, it probably came from like a knitting magazine. I think it was like a pattern for how to knit a pillow or something that had that cat in it. And then just putting down some more scrap paper that, and I'm using it for one, the color, because I love those muted pinks and blues and whites. But I'm also doing the shapes because I want to have some movement going through here. So once I have those things down, I'm going to start adding some paint. And you can kind of see in the bottom right-hand corner, I laid out some paint. I have some like some teal or turquoise, a dark blue, and then a dark green, and then some white and some yellow. So I'm just going to slap paint down and just kind of make some marks, add some color, fill in some of those negative spaces. And at this point, I'm still not, like, there's still no story. Why did I pick those collage elements? I don't know, other than I just like them, but I haven't found a way to connect them yet. And quite honestly, when I was doing this, I hadn't even thought about making a connection yet. Many times when I sit down to create, I just sit down to create, just to play with color or shape or texture. And I don't have like an intended destination in mind. I'm just sitting there adding things just kind of because I like them. It's not until I really work with something for a while that I can start to see a pattern or a story kind of develop. And so I'm still in the phase in this spread right here where I'm just playing around. Now, there are lots of spreads in my journals and in this sketchbook in particular that have like stopped right at this place. And I'm okay with that, especially if it's something that I'm working on in a limited amount of time. You know, I may only get to this point right here and I'm like, okay, well, that's good for today. And I'm all right with it because, again, I wasn't setting out to tell a story. I wasn't setting out to create anything. I just wanted to play with, well, that fabric, and then these colors just kind of joined the party. So it is okay when you are creating to actually not create. Like it is okay to play and don't walk away with a finished piece or a complete spread. Like that's some of the best part about being a creative, about being an artist, is that play and that unknown, and sometimes just letting things be for what they are. And you know, it may look unfinished to some, it may even look unfinished to yourself, but you did a process, you went through a procedure to get to that place. And I have found that in the last couple of years, the more I play, the more I allow myself to just not have finished pieces, the more I've learned and the more I've grown as an artist and as a storyteller. And I've really grown to learn a lot about myself. And that's pretty awesome. That's pretty magical. Like, I've figured out the things I love to use and the things I don't love to use and the colors I'm drawn to. And so when people ask all the time, you know, how do you find your style? I think this is how you find your style. You find your style by having sessions like this where you just sit down and you have no preconceived notion of what you're gonna produce, what you're gonna create, what you're gonna end up with. And then getting lost in that process, oh, that's the best part, because that's where you really start to get in tune with yourself and you start to figure out, I like the oil pastel marks on top of the chalky acrylic paint, or I don't like the way that Stabilo Woody goes over a more glossy type of paint. And you start to make those notes, and those notes then become part of your style. I hope this is making sense. Like, it makes sense to me, but I often see people say, well, I just don't have a style. I don't know what my style is, or I don't know what story I'm trying to tell in my art. And that's okay, because that's part of it. That's the best part of it, actually, is when you don't know, because then you're surprised and you're not trying to plan it out. So back to this piece. You've seen me add a lot of different layers. I'm going to end the video here with this last little bit of paint. And at this point in this process, I'm starting to see, oh, you know what? I think there might be a story here that I can tell. And so when I show you the second half of this video next week, you're going to see how I took this play and I turned it into an actual story. And then as I took that story and started to give it wings, I also started to remind myself, oh, you know what? This story reminds me of this time when. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are happy. And I hope you do something creative today. Until next time, goodbye.